Dreams are some of the most interesting phenomena of the human mind. They can portray our memories, random things or people we have in mind in some way. From time to time, while we dream about some very special, out-of-this-world images, places, or other abstract visions and sensations, a lot of those things don't make sense, but this also makes them way more interesting to talk about at the same time. Many people base their art on things that they saw in their dreams, creating some of the most unique kinds of media the human brain could ever imagine. One of the most intriguing attempts to portray someone's dreams came in the form of a game, kind of something like Dream Exploration Simulator. It's called Yume Nikki, but it's pretty hard to explain with only a few words, so let's go through it step by step. At first, I want to start with explaining what RPG Maker games means, because that term gonna be used pretty often in that video. So basically, as the title says, RPG Maker games are a subgenre of games made using a game engine called RPG Maker. Those games are usually displayed in a top-down 2D perspective. In most of them, you have to fight against some enemies, upgrade your gear to be more powerful, do some quests to progress to storyline, stuff like that. And the most are important words here, since today we're gonna talk about a game which basically has none of those 3 actions available in it. But obviously it's not just that only thing which makes the game really different than the rest of classical RPG Maker games. I think that kind of good point of distinction of what makes Yume Nikki different than the rest of RPG Maker games is that unlike in classical RPG Maker stuff, your only purpose in this game is to freely explore the whole world, wherever you want to go. Explore everything around you. Many places that look like they were taken straight out of obscure dreams, very obscure ideas from someone's mind. I mean, as an example, just look at this background from this game and tell me what the hell is this even? To be honest, whole vibe of that game is really hard to explain in normal words. The game gives you opportunity to go everywhere, without any limits, quite literally. But well, I will explain it later. But let's start from the basics and answer the most important questions. What Yume Nikki exactly is and what do you do in this game? Well, Yume Nikki is a non-traditional RPG Maker game where you play as a little girl named Madotsuki. Not much is known about her. All we know is that she is rather young based on her looks and that she could be classified as hikikomori, which basically in Japanese language means socially isolated person, type of human which isn't that much interested in talking with other people, but rather spending time in the room alone, despite that assumption is based on just one fact, and that fact is that she isn't a really big fan of leaving her room. When we come closer towards door, our Madotsuki shakes her head, meaning that she doesn't want to leave her place at all. It could mean that she has some reason not to leave that room, like maybe some difficult family situation or some kind of unknown trauma. But nevertheless, most of the Yume Nikki community treat her behavior as expressing her hikikomori personality. When you start playing that game, you are spawned into a little room with not many things to do, besides watching analog noise from TV, playing one game, going at the balcony, sitting at the desk, you can save your game progress here by the way, and going to bed. And well, that last option is most important in the game, because it allows us to go to the very weird place, named Dream World. At first, when we will go here, we won't see a big difference comparing that world to normal one, besides that ambient song which started playing. But fun starts when we will come towards door in our room. Now this is the place where interesting stuff is starting. Normally we can't access the area behind the doors, but in this world we can easily enter it. And what we are seeing is unusual to see at least. What could you expect to see behind socially isolated girl room door? Some regular normal inside of house? Nothing too crazy? Nope, wrong. Instead of this, we get bizarre as hell void with some drawings inspired by some Indian culture, I guess. And 12 different doors, leading to miscellaneous places from pretty standard places like for example Winter Biome World, to on the other hand, places like this. This place is named Nexus, and so as you can see, throughout the Nexus, you have a lot of places to explore. And quite interesting thing about these places, I would say, is most of them might seem infinite. Let me explain. If you enter one of those doors and keep walking to the right, you won't gonna find any barriers or stuff which can block your walk. It works like that because of certain mechanic in RPG Maker game engine, which allows game developer to create pseudo-infinite world when you can walk infinitely in every direction. When you go to right border of map, it teleports you to left border. When you walk to top border, game teleports you to bottom border, and so on and so on. Hopefully what I said made sense. By the way, it doesn't work in every world, but that mechanic still is used in most of those worlds. What is also worth to notice is that you aren't limited to only these 12 worlds behind each door, but in every main world you can also access other areas, and this is where interesting stuff starts. Throughout exploring areas outside of 12 main worlds, you can find even more weird places to discover. Each of the 12 main worlds have hidden passages, which leads you to other worlds. For example, Graffiti World can lead you to Mall, Snow World can lead you to Pink Sea, Mural World can lead you to sewers, and so on and so on. But it's not only that. Those places, accessible throughout those passages, can also have hidden passages inside of them to access even more worlds. As player, you definitely have a lot to explore, and so I want to highlight most interesting and iconic places which you can access in this game. But before that, I want to also mention certain key mechanic of that game, which is pretty important. Effects. Effects could be obtained by interacting with some special objects, which are scattered throughout different places in Yume Nikki worlds, like frog, some vertical man, or this thing. Activating them transforms Madosuki in different ways, like with blonde hair effect or severed head effect, or simply give her something to use, like with knife effect or bicycle effect. There are total 24 effects which you can find in this game. Some of them are pretty hard to find, since that game areas are pretty huge and potentially overwhelming to explore after all. Most of those effects don't have that many uses in the game, besides just looking cool, but some of them could really help you. For example, you can move way faster with bicycle, and kill NPCs that block your way to certain doors with knife effect. Okay, back to the locations topic. First one which I'm gonna talk about is Pink Sea, and place you can access from there, Poniko's house. It's probably most iconic place in the entire game, because here you can experience something unusual. That thing which I'm talking about is named Ubwa, a very mysterious entity, which has little chance to appear in Poniko's house when you're turning the lights off. When you finally encounter Ubwa, upon interacting with it, you're gonna be teleported to this place, with our Ubwa, which this time has some kind of grimace in their face, and this creature, which looks like it's vomiting blood or something. It's really weird how we went from pink peaceful place and house of some blonde girl, to some strange place like this, and changes of scenery like this are what makes this game so intriguing. Second place worth mentioning is White Desert. It's actually pretty hard to get here. you have to go to Blockworld to find and interact with this NPC named Mafurako. He can teleport you to different places across Blockworld. So if you want to get teleported to this one leading you to White Desert area, you have to be patient with trial and error method. White Desert is not only one of the biggest places in the game, but it also contains probably the most NPCs. What I like about this area is this ambience theme, which makes you feel like you are isolated, far away from any human beings, any life forms. Well, we are at desert after all, so I guess that this soundtrack really does its job well. Next place which I'm gonna talk about is nothing else but our red planet itself, Mars. And yeah, in Yume Nikki you can get here as well, even though getting here could be as problematic as getting to White Desert, because it requires some luck to get there. First you have to find some bed in one of Dreamworld areas. It could be also bed from your own room, as long as you are in Dreamworld, and if you interact with one of those beds, there is 1 per 5 chance that you will be teleported to a staircase of hands. When you will be lucky enough to finally be here, do not go up, because it will teleport you back to bed. Instead, go down to underground world. Now you're good to go to spaceship, as long as you have umbrella or Yuki Onna effect. You need one of those to put out the fire from entrance to next room there. After that, go up there so you can finally access the spaceship. In spaceship, you can meet up with second Masada sensei, also known as Piano Guy, and also well, go to sleep again. And in this case we are also kinda dependent on luck, because to go at the Mars, we have 1 per 6 chance of triggering the spaceship crash event, which will allow us to finally discover Mars. And here we are, Red Planet itself. Although Mars isn't the biggest place to explore out there, and you can only move in left or right direction here, there is also another hidden place which you can access there. There is a little hole at the top of a mountain, at left side of Mars. If you want to go here, you have to have obtained Mage's effect at this point. When you have equipped Mage's effect and you're gonna interact with this hole, you will find stairs which leads you to Martian underground, where you can find some sort of abandoned technology. And also that suspicious looking creature. Another, and at the same time one of my favorite places in this game, which I'm gonna talk about, is Sky Garden. It has probably one of the most chilling soundtracks in the entire game. And you also can see here this amazing view. To access it, you need to head at Darkwood first to find a specific gateway, which will lead you to Wilderness area. Wilderness is also a place which is worth talking about, because of how big it is. It's one of the biggest places in the game, and gives similar vibes to White Desert, and also has a lot of NPCs to find out there. But anyway, to access Sky Garden from here, you have to go through some complicated and long path, since as I said earlier, Wilderness is really huge area. You have to find secret passage which teleports you to Sky Garden entrance, which looks like that. From this place, getting there is relatively straightforward. Just go up across this fence till you will notice that there is another passage. Then go right into those withered bushes. And from there you will find another stairs. They seem to be pretty massive. During climbing there, you will have chance to also see falling men from the distance. And if you are very lucky, you can also see 2 of them. And so here we are, one of the most atmospheric places which Yume Nikki has to offer, the Sky Garden. And obviously those aren't the only interesting places which you can visit in this game. Here is also, for example, Hell, FC World, Mall, and the rooftop, and sewers as well. But if I would want to cover every of those, this video could probably be too long, I think. So now let's move to another topic related to this game. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a total of 24 effects in this game, but what will happen if player will obtain all of them? Well, the answer is nothing too special, but if you didn't know, if you are in Nexus and have one effect active on you, you can drop it here by pressing 5 on your keyboard, and it will change to Egg. X automatically, after you leave the Nexus, takes their respective positions, and after putting all of them here, still nothing happens in our dream world. But there is small new change in the reward section. When you will wake up, you're gonna see new thing in your balcony. That thing is box with stairs. When Madotsuki goes on them and interact on it, this is what's gonna happen. And yeah, this is how ending of game which seemed that has only purpose to explore very weird places looks like. That was a very unfortunate thing to happen, and after all you've seen, you might wonder whether Madotsuki was already a depressed person before we started controlling her. What kind of things happened in her life before that her final destination this game was shit? What could have pushed her to do this? Some kind of trauma? Some terrifying past experience? Difficult situation in family? Or maybe in school? Well, we will probably never know, but nevertheless, I think that our dream world, which most likely represents Madotsuki's mind, could be type of message that indirectly tells player her story. Every frightening or charming place we visited might represent a memory from her past, things that made her feel bad or made her happy. Kind of abstract visual representation of memory lane. Nothing is told to the player directly about what her life looked like before. But this what game showed can give player different types of clues about what she could have in mind, and this, as well as everything else I mentioned, is what makes that game so special in my eyes.